Good morning, everyone, or evening, or whatever time it is that you're listening to this. This is the Dean West Perspective, and I am sometimes the Dean West, just depending on my mentality or how I'm feeling or what I'm doing around the house and how I'm showing up for Charlie that day. Sometimes I am garçon, the chef that takes care of the food. Sometimes I am Hiccup's dad from the Dragon, the How to Train My Dragon, which is basically just my Gerard Butler voice that talks every day to kind of get Charlie up, ready and rumbling, ready to get the day done. Sometimes there's a version of Matthew McConaughey, hey, that comes out just because people think my voice sounds like Matthew, which is fine. The ladies like him. Sometimes there's a version of Elmo.
They likes to come out because Charlie likes Elmo, so other people like Elmo. Elmo's cool.
Anyway, I could go all day on the personas that show up for me, and I don't care which one comes up at the time. It's it's really just flow for me. I can be affected by the life around me and get stuck sometimes. And I was writing my niece yesterday and was talking to Michelle, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes I'll put some blame somewhere that should have been thrown at a mirror because it was my fault. And when I put blame to somewhere else, it truly means I don't get to fix it. I have no control over it. But when I blame myself for something, which, come on, it's 99% of the time, it's something that we had control of that we didn't handle correctly or deal with in the way we probably should have. So most of the time, if we can aim our blame back towards ourselves, it's going to adjust something. Anyway, I say all that to say one of the initial techniques I learned with acting, and it's one of the most simplest. It comes from the Udo Hagen world, and it's what if. What if, and one of the things we would play in class when I first started with a wonderful coach. I was with Aaron Spicer, and then our beginner coach was a guy named Jay Coventi, super nice guy, comedian, and just a really nice, genuine, funny human being. And one of the ones we would play in there was, what if, and everybody's sitting in the audience, what if a dinosaur's gonna bust through where we're watching a movie on the wall behind us or in front of us, which also worked out our fourth wall and all that. Fourth wall, most of you probably know already, but fourth wall is obviously on a stage. There's a real wall we have to our right and our left and our behind us that the audience sees, but there's nothing existing in front of us. And then for the camera, for film and television, our fourth wall is wherever camera's coming from, because there's usually a wall of people there that we have to create some reality to work with through this fourth wall over here. So he'd be like, all right, on the count of three, T-Rex is going to come busting through the movie screen, and everyone has to react accordingly. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, and everybody just do whatever, fall under chairs, act ridiculous. That what if you can grasp what if, then acting becomes one of the most easiest things you've ever done. It's what you did as a kid. What if there's a spaceship landing in the backyard? And then you had to truthfully believe that that was happening. And then if you said, what if a spaceship's landing in the backyard? And then we throw in that if this, then what that we use in improv. Well, if that's true, then what else? If there's an alien ship landing back there, then aliens must be real. Then it must mean there's different universes. Then it must mean, right, we continue to grow on that, which we do with regular film and television as well, not just improv. If this is true, then what? That's what helps us build character, fill in those little gaps between who we are owning, our persona, our personality. And I believe very similar to where Joe Dispenza goes, your personal reality is created by your personality. So if you understand what your personality is, then you understand what your personal reality, your perception or perspective of the world is, which shifts via your personality, right? If I am garçons, the famous ship putting together their food, well then his focus is food. There's nothing else happening in the world. I'm very zoned into what that is. When I'm Hiccup's dad and I live in a dragon community, well, that's just how we must work when we are Vikings, right? There's a mentality that goes with it. Most of you guys have probably learned and enjoyed doing different accents and things like that. You've probably realized that most of the time when you start this new accent, there's already a tiny bit of a persona wrapped around that accent, depending on where you learn the accent, right? If you picked up learning a certain accent from a certain character, you might have some of those mannerisms or things that come along with that accent. So, knowing that our personal reality is created from our personality means if we do not ever try to shift our own personality, then it's going to be really hard to shift our personal reality. But if you want something different in your personal reality, then you have to be able to shift your personality. Getting a little tangled, but you understand where I'm going with, right? So, one, if we pay attention to what we are aware of, and we can increase that awareness, the more you become aware or awake to what it is, you can either be aware that you forgot how these things in life were affecting you, or how life was being affected by how you were acting. Um, Meaning, say you drink often, and every morning you're like, God, I feel like crap. I need a Red Bull. Get a Red Bull, and oh, now we're talking. Life is ready to go again. I'm not sure what person. I might be a little bit Jim Brewer there. I'm not sure. But as you wake up every morning to do that, you can either click on the awareness and remember how you felt the next morning before you start that evening drinking again, and you're aware of what that is going to do to you later, what type of personal reality you will have once you feel groggy, funky, and nasty, or it doesn't turn on. You forget how you felt that morning because now you remember how you felt the night before. I felt great when I was drinking. Let me just go back to that. And we get on that cycle of doing things that we don't remember because we start the cycle over again. So our awareness never increased. So so we know that if that awareness can increase, we can start adjusting those things and shift our personality so that we shift our personal reality. We put in place things that we would like our personal reality to become, meaning that we know how to shift the personality because we can adjust things on ourselves, put blame back here where it belongs, and we take accountability for the things that we know we can change to make better, going to sleep earlier, not scrolling on our phone all night, getting up a little bit earlier because you're going to sleep earlier is the outcome, right there. And it goes back to some of those hermetic principles we talk about, but there's a list of things that you can do yourself. It's like when we all go to the doctor and we're like, yeah, doc, I've just been feeling blah blah blah. Oh, what did you change? What have you been doing differently? Well, I mean, I do this all the time. Okay, well, stop doing that. But you didn't need to go to the doctor for someone to tell you that. You knew. If I had you ask yourself this serious question right now and say, what is something I do every day that is the least healthiest for me? You had something pop in your brain just now. Write it down. Work on that thing. Adjust that one thing. It's so crazy that we are completely aware of the things that stop us or slow us down, or the obstacle that stands in our way. Our objective maybe to get over that obstacle, but our objective might be wrong, because what our objective is trying to get over this obstacle, when in reality we might know that we could just remove the obstacle, which would allow our objective to be much easier to grasp. If you know you have obstacles that you are creating yourself, then that's part of your self-love. That's part of your work to adjust and get better at. Most people don't do that, and they start being aware of it in their 30s. They start trying to shift it in their 40s. Then all of a sudden they're in their 50s and they're like, I feel great. Why didn't I do this when I was younger? Because it also starts, when we're younger, that's where some of those habits begin, because they don't affect us as heavily. We don't know the outcome yet. We don't tend to listen to our elders. God, I'm an elder. Okay, jumping over that obstacle. Um, Leading from what if we know that when we give ourselves that what if, right? Anytime we ask our brains a question like we just did, our brains want to answer. It wants to adjust to affect what we're asking it. If you ask yourself, where can I get a good hamburger? Your brain starts answering. If you ask yourself, why why do I why do I keep getting up so late? You get an answer. You can ask yourself the most ridiculous, the crazy question. Your brain's going to try to answer it. How come every time I fly to the moon, there's no cheese up there? Well, because the moon's not made of cheese, nor have you ever flown to the moon. My brain answered me. So start with the what ifs, create the life you desire from the what ifs, adjust the questions you ask yourself. What if I can do it? That's a simple one, right? We tend to go first to, well, what if I can't do that? What if I can do that? Oh, I can't do that. How can you do that? And it's funny because we run through, usually, and I've heard this saying a lot lately, that our brains will choose a familiar hell over an unknown heaven. It's easier to go back to what we've already done because we know the outcome. It's not uncomfortable. It may suck. It may not further our lives. It may not make us be who we want to be or create the lives we would like to have for ourselves or our family or our children. But it's familiar and it's easy. I'd rather go to the person that generally tortures me in a certain way than go to someone that may be amazing, but I just don't know how amazing. It's hard to let go of a life you're used to. And it can tend to take away, when we take away blame that we could be putting somewhere else, it means we have to do something with it. Right? It's like telling yourself, okay, it's not really their fault, so I can't put it over there. I have to accept that blame myself. I have to do something to fix it, which means there's some work to do. Some work to do. So, and when we get to understanding that there's work to do, it's time. It's time to start writing down the things you want. It's time to start writing down the things you need to let go of, the things you need to shift. You can work retroactively. I teach this in what we do with acting and how we're trying to build a life. If I know what the outcome I want is, right, I understand who the character is that I want to become. I know I can look at the life that I want to live and realize the character that probably leads that life. Then I can work on character breakdown and build out the human that is the one that lives in the life that I choose to live in. And I can slowly adjust and own the memories that put me in the place of that human being. I can slowly own the habits that that human has every day that creates the life they want to live. The more I start putting my belief system, which a belief is just a thought that we continue to think over and over, everything that you believe to your core is truly just a thought that someone gave you, that you took upon yourself, that you kept, that you held to a higher source, and continue to cycle that same thought over and over. so that it became something super important to you. So I challenge you this week to start writing down the things you're doing throughout your day. Maybe go back later, look at the list, put a check mark next to things that you know are creating the personal reality you would love to live, and put a little X next to the ones that are probably creating the personal reality that you don't really want, that are causing the outcomes. The cause and effect is a kind of a simple thing. We all know how that works. It's there's no there's no there's no woo woo there. There's no woo woo in the cause and effect understanding. We all know that what we do has an outcome and an effect on something. Our lives are the outcome. The way we are seeing things scratches. So I hope that you can take some of this and start shifting, start changing, start raising your awareness. Meditation is such a cool thing to do in general because we're able to be aware of the bullshit that we keep giving ourselves. We start kind of creating more of a view from above on what our lives are. And when you can realize that those thoughts that you keep thinking are not you, because you you cannot be aware of something that you are. You can only silence what you believe that you are, because if you're observing something, you can only be. So I hope this helps you, and it gives you a moment to reassess what you've been doing on a daily basis. And I ask that you can take a moment to realize that anything you're observing is clearly not you. Your thoughts, we observe those, so that's not us. Our bones, our beingness, our skin, it's we're observing these things, so they're not us. This mentality, this personality that we can observe is not us. Your essence, your presence, which you cannot observe, you can only be. That's more you. You're not a you can't necessarily identify as the bones, as the structure, as your belief systems, as your sexual preferences, all of those things that we all tend to, as humans, identify as, because it's understandable. We see a mirror. Look at me. I'm a man. I identify as this. Look at me. I'm whatever, right? We tend to get ourselves stuck in that identity. There's nothing wrong with identifying as and being proud of who you are and where you came from, because that does create a good portion of you. That's the character breakdown. But the essence that is in all of these characters and personalities, that's you. That's something bigger than all of this. That's something we all share. We are all a part of that essence. We all affect each other on an energetic level. We're not our bones. We're not our thoughts. We're not our jobs. We're not our careers. You are bigger than that. And the more aware that you are bigger than this life and this moment, that you are an infinite being, that brings power. That brings confidence. So I only ask that you try to reconnect yourself with that higher power, so that you are able to create the life you wish. If you're enjoying the talks we have here, if you're enjoying the podcast, I have a section on the deanwest.com called DWAS TV. I'm going to switch it to a subscription service soon, somewhere between 15 and 25 bucks a month or something like that. Maybe lower, I don't know. We'll see. There are some courses on there for actors, and if you work in your way through the course from the human standpoint, you don't necessarily want to be an actor. You can use all of the things we talk about there on how to create character, of how to create your future self, how to create the personality that can see the personal reality they'd like to have. There's different sections that I also have for just journeys, spiritual journeys. Some other brilliant coaches in the spiritual world and the neuroscience world. The podcast is on there, and it's just kind of it's a YouTube for actors, spiritualists, people that want to further their journey. There's some documentaries, there's some audiobooks, there's just all kinds of stuff on there, and it's a cool community that you can kind of get entangled with, and you have your own page that you can set up on there, and then you can kind of basically whatever you load onto your YouTube, you can take and load onto your pages there. So if you're working your way through the course, every time there's an exercise, you can shoot the exercise and then load it onto your page. So if you ever want to book a private with me, we can work our way through some of the work you've done within the course. You can also find me there on the deanwest.com. You can book private sessions with me if you're wanting to work on an audition, or just go through kind of what you've been doing as an actor, your career path, your mentality, all of this stuff. Take advantage of it. That's what it's there for. Other than that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I love you. Thank you. Forgive me. Goodbye. If you see, all these are some of the 3-hour classes we've had on just audition workshop classes, which we may get rolling more. Under the acting course, you can see, if you work your way in reverse, this kind of goes through all of some basic techniques, also talks about just life as we perceive it. Got the podcast that's popping up throughout here. Filmmaking that I'll continually add more videos here. This is a great one for independent filmmakers to listen to and just actors in general, because I think moving forward, our world as actors is going to shift and we need to start taking advantage of creating our own projects. Audiobooks, some wonderful ones all throughout here. It's the Uta Hagen one, of course, that we use for the course as well. And then you'll have your student videos as you guys will start loading stuff there. And I feel like there was more here, but it's not showing. Maybe I moved it. Yeah. Anyway, it's all there. Take your time, look through it. Once you sign in, as I said, once you create your own, you can also import. So shoot whatever you want on your YouTube and load it here. The this introduction video will walk you through and fill you in on some of that. Like I said, this will be shifted to a regular membership. Maybe we'll make it $26 a month and just drop the 9. Okay. Again, I hope you all enjoyed your moment with me. I love you. Goodbye. Goodbye.